Hey guys, Cam for 15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another Blue Box episode review for you guys as we continue on with Blue Box. And man, it's not looking good for my boy Taiki. It's not looking good for him. I don't know if he just got friend zoned, but I think he just got friend zoned because that last bit of the episode where Chinatsu basically is like, "Hey, about that time when you had the fever, forget about it, please." And I heard that, I'm like, oh shit, he got friend zoned. So let's get into this episode. So obviously, we start the episode 10, where we last left off in episode 9, where he had the fever. You get your typical romance trope episode where character gets a fever and then something happens. And he trips over himself, falls, she tries to catch him, and she's literally on top of him. And I'm just like, when I was watching the episode, I'm like, oh my goodness, we're about to make things get a lot more interesting. Things might be building. And well, you think something may happen. You think maybe the parents walk in on them by accident and like, oh, what's going on? Um, but anyways, what happens is she basically fixes his cold pack on his forehead. I think for her that was just an instinctual reaction just to do that right then and there and then leave immediately, because you see later on in the episode there's moments where she starts to get pretty flustered by it, and then again I'll talk about it when we get to the point of her basically saying hey, just forget about what happened in that moment. So essentially, the next day happens. Taiki's feeling a lot better. He walks to school, and he's just wondering about the. Hold on a quick second. Sorry. He's wondering about the Chinatsu thing, and then it's funny because Haruyu Senpai is over there, and he's just like, what the heck are you doing? And stuff like that. And basically, that's when Taiki asks, like, what are you guys doing? And essentially he's like, well, we're just cleaning the pool because we were told to clean the pool by the coaches. So, and then he ends up cleaning he ends up helping cleaning the pool, and Shinatsu is also there. And essentially, one Haru's like, look, man, don't get so down about losing in the first round. Like, it is what it is. I saw what, your goal is. And he basically asked him, like, I thought your goal was like making nationals and stuff like that and everything, but then I saw your goal, and it's like, that's the thing right then and there. So he basically kind of told him, don't get too discouraged about losing in that matchup or in that match and everything. Like, just improve and get better, because he does make the mention that obviously the one dude that Taiki went up against, he's gonna get better. So he basically tells him, like, look, man, stick at your craft, keep training, don't just give up and like lay over and think you hit a limit. At least get back in the lab, start working again and everything. And that's the thing, because that dude's gonna get clearly better, so you got to do your due diligence and get better as well. And then Chinatsu walks by, and he's like, right, Chi? And she's like, huh? What are you talking about? Right? So, that happens right then and there. And she's like, no, nothing, nothing, nothing. Now, he basically looks at Taiki, and he's like, so, how is that situation going? Because he knows that clearly, our boy likes, Chinatsu. And he's just like, oh, well, and it's funny, it's like, what the heck are you talking? What am I? Okay. And then he's just like, and then Taiki just like, so, do you know how to get people to connect with or something like more and everything? And this dude gives like the most disgusted look ever. And essentially, he's like, look, dude, if she didn't like you, she would be pretty distant. But if she's so touchy and feely with you, I don't know what he meant by that when he's like touchy and feely. Personally, if he said, well, she's like talking with you and interacting with you, I guess that's a better way to say it. But whatever. But he ends up saying like, look, if she didn't like you, she would put distance between you and she wouldn't just be around you or even talk to you. But if she's willing to go out of her way to talk, then there might be some interest there, right? So you have that you have that whole thing happening. And they end up like swimming or whatever after cleaning the pool, but he goes to put the things away. That's when he also runs into Chinatsu and everything, and he puts it he she puts stuff away and everything. They're talking. He then ends up before she ends up leaving. All right, he's like, I just wanted to say thank you for what you did out there, and she's just like, oh yeah, you're welcome, right? So you get that, and I'm just like, huh? And in the meantime, as she was doing that, she was blushing and everything, and getting a little bit flustered, as you can tell. So that's the thing. Anyways, what happens in the next scene, she's with one of her teammates, and her teammates brings up the fact about I guess one of the teammates is dating this dude and everything. They're just basically talking about relationship stuff, or her friends bringing it up. Shinatsu's trying to avoid the conversation clearly, because she doesn't want to talk about that, because I think she still has that thing with Taiki going on in her head. And basically, her teammates making the mention is like, huh, I'm just happy that you're back and everything, but just imagine if you just went somewhere. What if you found like a pretty hot guy to hang out with and everything, and maybe you could have a shot at dating and romance and everything? And Chinas is like, yeah, I don't really have time and stuff like that, but it's not my style and everything. And she's trying to play it off and everything. And even her friends like, well, yeah, you might be right. You wouldn't even have time for romance because you're so focused on your sports, right? So she also compares the fact of like, living with a guy and everything. And she nods is like, yeah, you kind of wouldn't understand because she knows. But then she's like, wait, what? And she's like, oh no, I said nothing. I said nothing. So you kind of get it internally with Chinatsu, like, okay, she's had this romance thing come up about romance, and maybe her friends have brought up to her before, like, hey, why don't you have like a boyfriend or something? And it seems like she's not really pursuing that, mostly maybe because she doesn't have any self-confidence in herself, but also too with everything that's been going on, especially what we saw at the end of the last episode. Clearly the relationship talk is talking up around her, and clearly she's getting very flustered because of the situation, and it's bothering her in a weird way, because it's like, well, she doesn't understand her feelings for Taiki. And it's clear that oh, she did this by accident, but clearly it's like she can tell she's gotten closer. Again, we don't have her internal thinking, so we don't know if she likes Taiki. I have a thing where maybe she's in a phase of where she's trying to figure out her feelings, if she does like him or not, and it's like conflicting for her. Especially when they have these moments that are enhanced and everything, right? Because I still remember, like, I'm like, the reason why I say she definitely likes him is clearly because, listen, she sees what Hina was doing around him, and at first I was thinking the thing about, and she clearly had the idea about, okay, maybe he likes Hina and everything, but then back at that one episode, I forgot what episode it was. I think it was episode 7 or 6 or whatever. And they're at the little gas station. He gets like these freaking like to go like chicken nuggets essentially. She literally takes it, and she literally tells him like, I'm just doing this because I felt a little jealous because Hina did that, and she pretty much got a little jealous because deep down she does have the feelings were there, and she's like, I don't like the fact that this guy that I know that I'm living with is basically having this other girl take his food, and he didn't even ask me if he wanted anything. So that's the thing. Anyways, there's like a family barbecue with Taiki's family and everything. It's a nice little thing. It then leads off to a conversation with his dad, where Chinatsu's talking with Taiki's father, and Taiki's father's basically explaining like, I'm just happy that you're having a good time here and you're really enjoying it. you know. And basically, he kind of views Chinatsu in a weird way as his own daughter in a weird way, because he's like, well, I'm basically carrying your parents' legacy to take care of you and everything. So, I want to make sure you're doing well. And when I heard that you wanted to go for nationals, it only made me inspired to continue to cheer you on. So, it was a nice thing by Taiki's father to do that, because it shows, like, even though that's not really realistically, that's not his biological daughter, he views Chinatsu as like kind of an adoptive daughter, and he's adoptive parent to her, and it's like he wants to see her succeed as well, and at the same time also taking care of her like that was actually his own child. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, they need to get there's more information, there's more thing or another item they need for their barbecue, so they send Chinatsu to go get it, and then they're like, Taiki, go with her. You can't let this girl walk around here this late at night, right? So they're walking, they get to the now the reason why Taiki's like kind of reluctant because he's kind of flustered with the whole situation going on between him and Chinatsu. So that anyways, they go to the store, they come back from the store and they're walking back, and she's basically is like, I'm kind of hungry. And she's like, you don't mind if I get some ice cream? And he's like, okay, here you go, have some ice cream. And she starts eating it and everything, and then they start having this conversation, the fact of, how the fact that they kind of relate closely to the parents. Like she's like, you know, you're a lot like because Taiki's like, I saw you talking to my dad and everything, and then she's like, you act like your mother a lot. And he's like, and it's funny because he's like, he doesn't take that he doesn't take that as a compliment. He thinks like, oh, that's great. And I don't really see that, but okay. Um and then she talks, and then he tells her like, well, you kind of like are like your father. And we kind of get some backstory, like, she tells Taiki like she was afraid that her father would possibly reject her answer of like staying back with somebody's family. But the father was actually pretty supportive of that. So that was pretty cool. And then that's when we get to the last bit of the episode, to where this car drives up out of nowhere. Taiki clearly sees it. He pulls Chinatsu's arm. He's like, hey, watch out. And he pulls her in, and he pulls her in a little bit too hard, I guess you can say. And she basically leans on his chest, and he's just like, oh, and she's like, oh. And they didn't do a follow-up thing where he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to yank you like that. Like, there was this car coming in. Now, why this car just didn't slow down or didn't see these people, I don't know. But he did the right thing, He pulled over to the side so she didn't get hit by the car or clipped by the car or something to the point she gets hurt. And then that's when we get to the interesting thing here, the episode where we left off a little bit. It's basically the cliffhanger thing of the episode, with where the relationship's going. And basically he continues to walk on because he's like, all right, we should head back home and everything. And then that's when she's like, hey, Taiki, can we talk for a second? And essentially he's like, yeah, what's about? Yeah, well, what do you need to talk about? And she basically tells him like, hey, about what happened when you were sick. I would like us to forget about it and act as if that never happened. Essentially, that's what she said. And she just walks on, and they walk back home. And in the meantime, and while this, Taiki's like, why would she say that? Like, is she like trying to forget that moment? Is she trying to forget? Is she trying to basically he's like, he remembered back to what Haruyu senpai said about like, if she didn't really like you, she'd be basically putting distance between you. And he's like, is she putting distance between me? And I'm just like, oh man. And I'm like, don't tell me my boy got friend zoned for the short term. Yeah, he kind of got friend zoned right there. He kind of got friend zoned. So basically the next day, he's kind of like, that's on his mind still, even though he's still somewhat studying and everything, right? So then he's walking with Hina and his other friend, and they see like, oh, it's Chinatsu senpai. And then she looks up, she sees them, but then he's over here like, and they look down at him, they're like, what the heck? And essentially he's doing that because clearly he doesn't want to face her, because he feels like maybe he might be a burden on her, and the fact of like what she said to him yesterday. So clearly this could maybe be leading to a conversation with maybe Hina or his friend. I think it'd probably be more likely Hina because clearly she's gonna pick up on something and she's probably gonna ask you know, because the fact, especially the fact that Hina knows that they're living together, um Hina's definitely gonna ask Chinatsu. Maybe in the next episode or a few episodes down the road, is like, hey, are you and Taiki okay? Like, he's acting weird when he sees you and everything, and it's like he doesn't want to acknowledge you or something. She's probably gonna be like, wait, what are you talking about? And basically, that's probably gonna be one and two, and then maybe that's when Shinatsu's like, well, this kind of happened and everything. And who knows? Maybe, Hina doesn't tell him, like, you need to talk to him. Or I don't think Hina would, like, purposely tell Chinatsu, like, no, dude. I'm like, I don't know why you're doing this when this dude clearly likes you or something. Like, he's a good guy. I don't think he would do nothing to basically do anything. I don't think anything, but I feel like Hina's gonna convince this guy, like, nah, I'm like, that's not cool. You're not talking to him because you had that moment. Like, he feels or maybe Hina has a talk with both of them, and what I mean is that one part of the episode she talks with Taiki, and maybe that's when she gets probably her rejection scene, and everything. Maybe that's when Taiki tells her like, yeah, this is what happened, and then she just told me we're walking home, and then she just told me like just to forget about what happened between us. And maybe that's when she has the talk and with Shinatsu, and she's like, how can you just tell him like point blank to his face, forget about something that happened, like, and that's what probably will happen where they'll talk, but and they'll finally do everything. But I feel like the reason Shinatsu did this is I don't think it's because she's trying to distance herself from Taiki. I think she still likes Taiki as a dude and everything. She still wants to be his friend. But like I said earlier, I think she's doing this because she's having conflicting thoughts about her feelings for Taiki, because we've seen it time and time again where as of late, since the moment where like he was like had his shirt off and he took his shirt off to like flip it inside out and he showed basically a six-pack, and she saw that and she got a little bit flustered, and I'm like, okay, she's into him. That's a click, and she might be into him because she sees the pecs and everything. She's just like, oh man, oh wow. um and you just see how they're bonding and getting closer and everything, and it's just like, okay, she's liking him, but she doesn't know her feelings up for him. And I feel like the more moments we've been seeing the last few episodes since that moment she saw him with a shirt off, um, she's clearly taking and intriguing him. Like, again, like I made a mention, she literally saw Hina take like one of his like chicken pop things or his chicken nugget things, and she ate it, and she literally takes one, and she literally tells Taiki to his face like, "Oh, I'm only doing this because I felt jealous." And I'm just like, this girl's giving all these hints to this man, like, you may actually have feelings for him and everything, and then you're just like turning around saying like, well, let's forget about this moment that we had. Now, yeah, it happened unnaturally and everything, and it wasn't meant to happen, but and it was clearly an accident by him, and she just fell on top of him. But I feel like with the fact that she's having these conflicting feelings for Taiki, um, she doesn't know what she wants to feel, and she wants to get away from the situation, and she's basically telling him like, look, I'm still kind of want to be friends, but I'm not trying to do all this and everything. And also too, with a moment in the freaking closet area when they're putting away the pool stuff, the pool cleanup stuff, um she's basically, when he grabbed her and he made the mention about like, hey, about yesterday, thank you, made me feel better. And she might be thinking like, yeah, okay, I made her feel better, but he must be thinking like, when I was on top of him and everything. So it's clear that her feelings is kind of like blurred for her in a weird way. It's like with My Hero Academia, which I just did a manga review of that. It's like she's suppressing her feelings because she's afraid to embrace them. And even when she was talking to her friend, like she was kind of like, can we switch the subject on the thing? I don't want to really talk about this romance stuff and everything. And it's interesting. She might be just fearful of her feelings, the fact like, hey, I may like this guy, but I don't know if I want to go through. Are my feelings real for this dude? And maybe we'll see them develop, but my man, I feel like she just did all that because she wants to try to run away from the fact that of acknowledging the fact that she may deep down actually does like Taiki, and she may be of the approach like I have bigger things to worry about than just romance stuff. I don't want to bother him with what he's got going on, and I definitely don't want to take away with what I'm going on. But it's like, you see what they've been building up on, and I don't know, and maybe she also feels weird, like, well, it might be weird that I'm living with this guy, and then what if I end up like dating him or something? I don't know. It's interesting to say the least, but we'll see. But my man got friend zoned, sadly, hopefully for a short period of time, but we'll see where it's gonna go. This show continues to get more interesting with the relationship. Man, when she finally admits her feelings for this dude, I'm gonna be so happy. That's all I'm gonna care. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Catch you guys in the next video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there and have a great rest of your day, night, or on the video. Till then, guys, peace.